Một lá ngô đồng rơi, có hai con người ơi. Một lá ngô đồng rơi, thu đẹp đã về rồi. Ngàn chiếc lá còn rơi, đó hai vàng tươi. Ngàn chiếc lá rơi rơi, bay vèo ngập cả trời. Lờ lưng trên trời cao, chiếu lên khơi hờ xanh. Lờ lưng trên trời cao, mái bạc vẫn còn tanh. Ngàn chiếc lá còn rơi, đó hai vàng tươi. Ngàn chiếc lá rơi rơi, bay vèo ngập cả trời. Rừng vi lô quanh hiu, giáo lên ru hồn ai. Rừng vi lô quanh hiu, nắng vàng đắp ruộng dài. Ngàn chiếc lá còn rơi, đó hai vàng tươi. Ngàn chiếc lá rơi rơi, bay vèo ngập cả trời. Niềm thương trong lòng tôi vẫn tươi không nhạt phai. Niềm thương trong lòng tôi thu đẹp vẫn còn hoài. Ngàn chiếc lá còn rơi, đó hai vàng tươi. Ngàn chiếc lá rơi rơi, bay vèo ngập cả trời. Go shika don't let high top is too low, huh? Go shika don't let pray. They pray, Flahisa, Flahisa. Go shika don't let pray. C'est la fin de l'été. Les feuilles d'automne, emportées par le vent, en grandement automne, tombent en tourbillonnant. Nuages, hein? Nuages dans le ciel, hein? Nuages dans le ciel, s'étire, s'étire. Nuages dans le ciel, s'étire comme une aile. Les feuilles d'automne, emportées par le vent, en rendement d'automne, tombent en tourbillonnant. Châtaignes dans le bois se fondent, se fondent. Châtaignes dans les bois se fondent sous nos pas. Les feuilles d'automne, emportées par le vent, en rendement d'automne, tombent en tourbillonnant. Et ce chant dans mon cœur murmure, murmure. Et ce chant dans mon cœur murmure le bonheur. Les feuilles d'automne, emportées par le vent, en rendement d'automne, tombent en tourbillonnant. Thank you. Most respected Thai dear Sangha, today is the 20th of October in the year 2020. We're in the Lower Hamlet in the Assembly of Stars Meditation Hall in our 3-month autumn retreat. We're going to listen to 3 sounds of the bell. Yeah, good morning, dear Sangha. The song we just sang is a French song, and Thai liked it very much, and so Thai gave it the words in Vietnamese. Yeah, we don't really have a good version in English. So the first verse is about the Kolfika. We don't have that in Vietnamese. We just have about the leaves falling. But the second verse about the clouds, we have that in Vietnamese. And the third verse about the chestnuts, we don't have that in Vietnamese. Instead we have about the forest of reeds, about the reeds and the sound of the flute. And the last verse about this happiness, this song of happiness in my heart, is more like this love I have in my heart. Ce chant dans mon cœur murmure le bonheur. Yeah, is always there. It never fades. So, dear sisters, this week the Gatha is urinating in the ultimate. No, I can't think it. A wonderful exchange taking place. You and I are not two. No, nothing to add, nothing to take away. I like this Gatha very much. It's very simple, easy to remember. I'm not quite sure what the third line means. You and I are not two. But you can interpret it in any way you like. If you're having a difficulty with somebody, you may like to remember that you and that person are not two. And the last line is really a line for the ultimate dimension. When we talk about the ultimate reality, sometimes we say, nothing to add, nothing to take away. And if we look at life, we also see from a scientific point of view, that point of view of energy and matter, there's nothing we can add and nothing we can take away. So Thai said that this Gatha, he was inspired to write this Gatha from urinating in nature, because it may be easier to see that what a wonderful exchange is taking place when you urinate in nature. But we can use it other times too. So that is, please put it into your own language and practice it and make it poetic. One day when everybody has done that, or when a few people have done that, we can gather together everybody's gathas and maybe make the gathas more more beautiful. The other thing is last time or the time before I was talking about trying to be in unison when we chant and come in at the same time, and then I recognized that my suggestion is not based on reality and it's not what happened. So now I just want to make clear that when we chant Je prends refuge, we come in on le Buddha. Je prends refuge dans le Buddha. I think it makes more sense because we really want to say the word Buddha when we take refuge. And if we come in on celui qui, we don't get the chance to say the word Buddha. So I'm happy, and I heard the Sangha did that. So please keep like that. Another question I had from last time, which I need to share with everyone, was because I talk a lot about please chant the sutra in the language it's being chanted and don't look at another language. That is just something that Thai taught me. But then don't be confused about this. It doesn't mean to say when you recite the precepts you can't look in your own language. When we recite the precepts, it's very important that we understand every word. So we should always have the language we understand fluently in front of us to make sure we understand. Mm. In the Vajrayetika Sutra, they're talking about the giving, generosity, the first paramita, generosity, giving, and talk about the spirit of giving, and the Buddha says to Subhuti, when you give something, when you practice generosity, you practice without dwelling in signs, without being caught in signs. Vô tướng, not caught in sound, in form, in sound, in smell, taste, object of mind, and so on. So I feel that teaching about not being caught in signs is also very useful when I practice sending energy. So when I'm sending energy, if I get caught in a form or a sound or a mental idea, it's more difficult. So this week we've been sending energy to Shu'om, and I enjoy that practice very much. And for me, I remember when we were in some Chinese monastery looking at the Tripitaka, and Shu'om pointed, I don't read Chinese, pointed to something, and he said, this verse is, if you look for me in form, or you look for me in sound, you are on the wrong path, and you won't see the Tathagata. That is also from Vajrayetika Sutra. So when we practice sending energy to Thai, I have to be careful not to be caught in form or in sound, to feel like it is the essence of Thai, and to feel that Thai is actually here, in me, in my sisters, and then I just can wholeheartedly be with Thai. So that is the way I have been practicing, a little bit based on Vajrayetika Sutra. Last time we were talking a little bit about the formal meal. And I told you how we used to practice it in the past. So you may think, well, is that really relevant for us today, how we used to practice in 1980, whatever, 89? 1990. I think the relevance of that is that we can see how Thai changed things over time, and in what way Thai changed things. Always keeping the spirit, but changing the form. And so for us, when we need to change things, it's the same. We need to know really what the spirit is, and in order to change the form. If we change the form because we don't like it or because we're tired of it, without knowing the spirit, then we can lose the spirit. So now I enjoy the formal meal very much. I enjoy it much more than I used to. It may be because my practice is a bit better than it used to be, but it may be because the way the formal meal is I enjoy it. But I see the elements, the element of eating a meal in the formal way is much more like offering to somebody outside of you, the Buddhas or the hungry ones. But now you turn your spoon around and you offer to yourself. So it helps you, the formal way helps you to see the Buddha is in you. And the hungry ones are also in you. And as long as you are aware of those two things, then you keep the spirit of the formal meal. And so that's what we have today. So if we want to give rise to compassion, now we have reciting, sending energy at the end of the meal, so we keep that aspect of compassion as well. So what I feel is everything that we had in the form before has been kept. I remember that we used to, when it was the memorial day of one of our spiritual ancestors, we used to wear the Sangati robe and chant according to what is in the sutra. But more recently, on the memorial day of the ancestral teacher, Thai, we wouldn't have that kind of formal ceremony. We would eat lunch together, and we would have a tray and the food to offer to the ancestral teacher, as if the ancestral teacher was there eating with us. And then Thai would tell us about the ancestral teacher so we could learn. And in that way we kept the spirit of the ceremony, and I really like that way of doing it. And then last year we had quite a few memorial ceremonies, 2 or 3 I think, and it was always the formal ceremony, and we didn't do it like Thai, and I reacted. I thought, I like doing it the way that Thai did it. And then I was talking to my younger brothers up in the upper hamlet, and they say, we like that ceremony so much. It was so nourishing for us. And so, really, yeah, you can see that don't be caught, huh? Don't be caught in the old and don't be caught in the new. Then I had a question also about doing things in unison in ceremonies. The question in particular was about when we touch the earth. One time Thai taught, I don't think Thai said we should do this like this, but Thai said that when Thai touches the earth, we join our palms, and then before we touch the earth, we raise our palms to our forehead. And Thai said that Thai always raised his palms on the name of the Bodhisattva or the Buddha. And so the sister said, can we all do that together as a Sangha? When we hear the name of everyone raise their palm together. It looks more beautiful. So if you think in Vietnamese, I don't know which language Thai was talking about. If you think, you say, Nyat Nyat Tan Dan Lễ, Nyat Tan Dan Lễ, Đức Bổn Sư Bụt, Shakyamuni, and Shakyamuni is the last word. So Thai would, when Thai hear Shakyamuni, Thai would like this, and then bow. But if you have in English, teaching and living the way of awareness in the very midst of suffering and confusion, Shakyamuni Buddha, the fully enlightened one to whom we bow in gratitude, then you have to keep your hands much longer time. So if we all want to do that and do it together, it's fine, but I don't want to tell everybody to do it together. Otherwise it'll be like, je prends refuge dans le Bouddha, and then... Chưa dịch gì hết hả? Một khúc hả? Right. This is the trouble with the translation equipment. Khi nào được thì cho biết ha. Được rồi ha. Bây giờ quên mình đang nói cái gì. About putting our hands up and doing things together. It's nice in a way to have that kind of unison when we do things, but it takes quite a bit of organizing, and so I don't know if we can do it. The other thing, as I noticed this morning when we were when we were reciting the mindfulness trainings, when we recite the 14 mindfulness trainings, there's the question: have you done your best to study, practice, and observe it during the past 2 weeks? And then we all follow our breathing together to look deeply. Well, I could have done better, or not, huh? And then we hear the sound of the bell. We all hear the sound of the bell. And then I was always told, I was instructed that at the sound of the bell, everyone joins their palms and bows their head. And this is to express our gratitude to the precept. We feel very happy and grateful to have that precept. So I read in the book, Into Being, you join your palms, and Thai always told me, join your palms. So when I was in the abbess in the Green Mountain Dharma Center, I told every sister, if I see a sister not joining her palms, when we ask the question, invite the bell, then I say to the sister, sister, you should join your palms in gratitude to the precept. So that sister, she went to Thai and she said, Chan Duc said you have to join your palms. After, and Thai said, to join your palms or not to join your palms is not the question. Duc, yeah? Okay. To join your palms or not to join your palms is not the question. So the sister was happy. She said, oh, good, that means I don't have to join my palms. It's not the problem. So when I heard that, I thought, oh, what Thai means is that when you join your palms, you have to put your whole heart in it. Joining your palms just as an outer sign, it doesn't mean anything. You might as well not do it. So what this means is that in the Sangha there are some people who join their palms when we hear the sound of the bell, and there are some people who don't join their palms. So this is something I've noticed for a long time already. The only thing I think is a little bit confusing for the young sisters who just come into the Sangha, because they ask, well, what should we be doing, joining our palms or not joining our palms? And so I think that if we feel really uncomfortable, if it's really difficult for us to join our palms, we find some obstacle in our mind and it's uncomfortable, we shouldn't force ourselves to do it as an outer sign. That is obvious. But if we don't do it, I feel we should be aware that other people are joining their palms. And we should wait until the people who do join their palms have put their hands down, so that we can all turn the page at the same time. Otherwise, what happens is that the sound of the bell and you start to turn the page immediately if you don't join your palms. But if you do, you can't turn the page immediately. So that would bring more harmony into more unison for those of us who don't like to join our palms. So now I would like to talk a little bit about the practice of listening to a Dharma talk. And this also is less formal than it used to be in Plum Village. When I first came to Plum Village, we had a little ceremony before the Dharma talk, which is called Tenten Shu, which is called inviting the Dharma teacher, inviting the teacher. And that meant that at that time we didn't have any monastics. So it meant that the eldest brother in the in the Tiphing order would go and invite Thai. And Thai would be waiting in the... Thai didn't have his little room over there because that was still a cowshed. Maidim was still a cowshed, and Thai would be waiting in the Persimmon building. And the elder brother would go with a tray with a bell and incense, and would walk in front of Thai, and Thai would follow and invite the bell, and bring Thai to the Dharma hall. So I think in Vietnam maybe still people have that ceremony before the Dharma talk. But then Thai thought this is a formality that isn't really necessary. But one thing is that it is a way of showing our respect to the Dharma. And one thing that Thai was always very, very emphatic about was that there must be respect for the Dharma. In a Dharma talk, the people who listen must feel respect in order to be able to receive the Dharma. So feeling respect for the Dharma also means feeling respect for the person who is teaching the Dharma. And although we rely on the Dharma more than the teacher. So Thai always taught and reminded us to listen to a Dharma talk in the way that the respect for the Dharma is there. And little things that we do are to help us feel that respect. And there was one time when a young brother felt very uncomfortable in Dharma talks because his father was a minister and used to give a long talk every Sunday to the congregation in the church. And as a little boy, he disliked very much these long talks that his father gave. And when he came to Plum Village and he sat in a Dharma talk, he felt this person no longer in the Sangha, left a long time ago. He felt like Thai was his father and forcing him to sit there and listen to this long talk. So Thai said, don't come to the talk, because Thai, as a Dharma teacher, you're not supposed to teach people who don't feel respect for what you're teaching. And you know that in the traditional pratimoksha, in the fine manners, there are a whole lot of fine manners about don't teach the Dharma to someone who's holding a sword. Don't teach the Dharma to someone who's sitting higher than you are. Don't teach the Dharma to someone who's lying down unless that person is very sick and so on. One time when I was in Texas, I told Thai about this, and it's very funny really. Anyway, I was giving a Dharma talk, and a couple of gentlemen in the front row, they lay down with their towards me. So I was thinking at the time, I couldn't really tell these gentlemen don't lie down in my talk, because they didn't know about the precepts. So I wasn't very happy at that time, so I just didn't look at them. I looked in the other direction. And then I came back and I told Thai about this. And Thai said, why didn't you lie down too? because the idea of the precept, you should not be, I don't know. Anyway, fine. So that is another teaching for me, that when you're teaching the lay people, don't be too caught in the fine manner. But anyway, Thai. So now we don't have Thai giving Dharma talks. We have Thai on a DVD, and at the other times we have a Dharma teacher. So the question is, should we continue to be as respectful to Thai on the DVD and to the Dharma teacher, although that person may be younger than us, or may not be giving a very good Dharma talk, but should the respect still be there? And if so, we need to follow the guidelines that Thai gave when Thai was teaching for the Dharma teacher and for the DVD. To me, I want to follow those guidelines. I think when Thai first wasn't here, some of the Dharma teachers felt that their talks were not so good. They felt, but over the years, those 6 or 7 years, whatever it is, we see that, I personally see that the talks that the Dharma teachers give now are much, much better than they were in the beginning. They're much deeper, they're more interesting, and so on. So I feel that is made possible because we always respect the Dharma talk and support the Dharma teacher. It's very difficult to teach if you feel that people don't want to listen. So the first thing that Thai was very insistent about and had to remind us many times was, don't be late. Don't come in later. You should never be later than the Dharma teacher. You should always be there before the Dharma teacher. So Thai never came early. Thai was always on time. So it meant that we had to be on time. The second thing that Thai always taught was don't go in and out of the Dharma hall. Sometimes we have to come into the Dharma hall maybe 5 minutes before the talk, and then the talk is about an hour and a half. So the most we will be in the Dharma hall is 2 hours. So most people, unless they really have problem with their kidneys or something else, they should not need to go out to go to the toilet during the Dharma talk, unless you're drinking some kind of diuretic medicine or something. So somehow we have to organize ourselves so that we don't need to go out in the Dharma talk, unless it's an emergency. Because when we do go out, for instance, the person giving the talk, you see everybody who comes in and goes out. So if I'm sitting here giving a talk, I can see everything outside. So it's a bit disturbing for me. And the second thing, it's disturbing for the people around you when you get up, go out, and come in, close the door, open the door. And sometimes I'm sitting here, I see one sister go out, then another sister go out, and then I see they stand outside and have a long conversation about something. So I don't know, but it may be the Dharma talk's getting a bit boring or something like that. Anyway, that is the other thing Thai always advised. In about 1996, when we first went to the new hamlet, Thai gave quite a few instructions about listening to Dharma talk. And at that time, Thai said we should never drink anything during a Dharma talk. Thai said the reason for this is that when you pour your tea or whatever, or you drink, you lose your attention on the Dharma, because when you drink, you want to drink. And when you listen to the Dharma, you listen to the Dharma. So Thai said, you can bring your drink with you and drink it until the Dharma talk starts, when you're waiting for Thai to come, and drink it after the Dharma talk, when the announcements, but don't drink it while Thai is giving the talk. So if we can't, if Thai suggests we lose our concentration just by drinking, then if I do something like this, I have to pour my tea, I will lose even more of the Dharma talk. Maybe I make a little bit of noise, disturb the person next to me. Maybe you hear the sound of the water, also a bit disturbing. And what about bringing your tea leaves and your teapot and your hot water and then making a cup of tea? And one very sweet brother, one time he made tea for me as well. So he had to make the pot of tea, pour out 2 or 3 cups, and for another sister too, and then give us each a cup of tea. But of course when he's doing that, he loses concentration on the Dharma talk. So I think that is why Thai suggests not to drink. Some people say we really need to have some liquid during the Dharma talk. That's not my experience, but that some people have that experience, and so they would prefer we don't make be too strict about not drinking during a Dharma talk. But if we do really need to drink something, then we really should be very careful that we don't disturb anybody, and we don't lose our concentration. The other thing Thai taught us at that time was we should not have our head covered except by a headscarf during a Dharma talk. We shouldn't wear the woolen hat during a Dharma talk. But the sisters want to wear the scarf, it's okay. So that is quite traditional, because it's kind of the culture of India and China, that it's disrespectful to have your head covered. And so again, that is just something that I taught, and it's something that I practice because I want to show my respect. But I just tell you that what I feel is that the one who is sitting at the bell should not wear a woolen hat when we're sitting at the bell. But others, I see that many people, they do wear the woolen hat during Dharma talks. So I'm just telling you, this is something that I heard in 1996 from Thai. When I when I went to one of the first public talks with Thai in England, after I just met Thai for the first time, we were in the Quaker meeting house in Euston in London. And after the talk, Thai said, and now, he called me by my lay name, we'll tell you all about the Buddhist Peace Fellowship. And I was very surprised. I wasn't expecting to have to talk about the Buddhist Peace Fellowship. And there was people there who were kind of very high up, I don't want to say, but were kind of more like leaders in the Buddhist Peace Fellowship. I didn't really have much to do. So anyway, I came out and I talk about the Buddhist Peace Fellowship. And I recognize that is Thai's way with Dharma talks. Thai never wants to be a separate self giving a Dharma talk. And so he always has other people talk about other things in public talks, even though they don't know very much and they're very new. And that kind of spirit of Thai giving a Dharma talk, it continues because we always have the preparation for the Dharma talk before Thai comes. And that preparation, it can take place in different ways, like sometimes it was singing the Dharma songs, and sometimes it was sitting meditation, and sometimes, and now more recently, it's been chanting before the Dharma talk. And all these things are to show that the Dharma talk is much more than one person coming up and talking. So we need to, we want to, the people who listen to the Dharma talk to be peaceful and to be receptive so that they can receive the Dharma. So what we do before the Dharma talk, and so we're talking about preparing for a Dharma talk. So we find skillful ways to do this. When we had some online retreats, we used to have singing before the Dharma talk. And I reacted to the lower Hamlet and upper Hamlet combined band, the singing, because I felt that it didn't make people's mind peaceful. So, yeah, that is something for us to look at, to see if we have kind of music that is that is a little bit jazzy, and the monks and nuns jump up and down, or while singing and things like that. Whether it really will make people's mind peaceful and receptive to the Dharma. So, but that was my personal reaction. I don't know how other people felt. I remember that in the 21-day retreat once, that Thai used to have us practice silent sitting. Thai would come into the Dhamma hall, and then we would have the Hokan, and then after that we would practice sitting in silence for 10 minutes in order to prepare ourselves. So that is also something that we can do. We can have silent sitting. And nowadays we have the short guided meditation to make us calm and receptive to the Dharma. So I feel that all these things can help. About chanting the sutra before the Dharma talk, that Thai always made it clear that was in order for us to be able to see that we're not a separate self. And so in those words that guide us before the chanting, we always say, let us chant as one body, letting go of the inferiority, the superiority, and the equality complex. And what this means is that when we come up to chant before the Sangha, and we say, oh, I don't like performing and things like that, we're caught a little bit in seeing ourselves as a separate self. And we don't see that when we come up like that, we are just a drop in a river. And that practice of chanting before the Dharma talk has been very useful for me to be able to feel part of the Sangha body and not to feel a separate self. And I think that is why Thai wanted us to practice like that. If you feel that, oh, people are looking at me, then it's a little bit being caught in a separate self. It may be a little bit inferiority complex, afraid that we might feel superior. And when I do come up and when I stand in front of the other people, the practice I enjoy most of all is to feel that I'm one with them. That I'm not separate. The one who chants and the one who is listening are not two separate realities. And in fact, people are very moved by the chanting. Often you will see people crying because they are so moved. One sister told me that before she became a nun, she used to cry when she saw the brothers and sisters come up before a public talk. She felt so deeply moved that she cried. And one of the reasons why she became a nun. But after she became a nun, she didn't like to come up and and chant, because she felt embarrassed standing in front of so many people. I understand that, because when I was a child and in school and we had to come up on the stage and stand in front of the audience, I also felt very nervous and very embarrassed. I used to shake. So I can understand that somebody feels like that. But we need to train ourselves in order to be able to let go of that embarrassment, which has something to do being caught in a separate self. Thai once said that even if someone gives not a very good Dharma talk, you can still use the time to look deeply. You can look deeply into the person who's giving the talk, and you can learn about that person. You can get in touch with that person in a way that if they hadn't given the talk, you wouldn't have been able to get in touch with them. Oh. Now we have the electricity. We have a chance for you to ask a question or to make a suggestion or an addition. Sister Hiên.
Thank you, dear Sugo, for your teachings. I have a half comment, half question. So it's about the online retreats. We struggle to find something that people can do while they check for technical problems. So that is why we came up with the idea of the music before the Dharma talk. A bit like today, when we have technical problems, we need something to keep the energy together. And so at that time, it's like people are still entering the Dharma hall. So people are opening their screen, checking their sound, trying to connect to their translation. So also in Plum Village, we have a bit of a busy energy. So the translation teams are check and double check and often some problem. And then in the sound room, check, double check, some problems. So there are a number of monastics here, not yet settled at that time, and people online with a lot of questions if they cannot get a part of it to work. And what we also, from the previous retreats, if people feel like they miss out on the meditation, they get a little bit frustrated. And we thought, if you miss out on the singing, it's not so much suffering for the people if there's a technical problem. So that's just to share a bit of where that came from. But so I don't know if Suko has any other idea how we could, because people need about 10 or 15 minutes to arrive and settle and check the technology. So if there is, if there's another way we could do it, we would be very happy to hear Suko's ideas. Yeah, thank you, Suko.
Yeah, I think the singing is fine. To have 10 or 15 minutes of Plum Village songs is fine. But what I reacted to was not the fact of having music and singing, which I don't think is a problem, but the kind of music. The kind of music which I felt is not peaceful enough. Yeah. So, that was my thing. When we had because for me, there's certain kinds of music, they make my mind more peaceful, and certain kinds of music, they make my mind more busy and agitated. And I felt that some of the way even though they were Plum Village songs, but they were presented, was agitating for my mind. I don't know about other people. So I think it's fine to have songs. Yeah, Dharma song. Dear
Suko, this is a question from the very beginning of your talk. I've always wondered what generosity with signlessness looks like concretely.
Yeah.
Because for myself, when I'm trying to give something away, I try to find the gift a good recipient. Like it's something that this particular person would find very useful, or it's something they like.
Yeah.
Like if a sister likes all these things, I don't give her chocolate.
Yeah.
I discriminate a lot when I give something. So, what does signlessness mean here?
I think what signlessness means here is that we are not caught in an idea about giving. So caught in the idea that I ought to give this to, but to rely on the present moment. What is really needed in the present moment, and not to be caught in an idea from the past about an idea that we have about giving. I think if you're able to give somebody something that they can use and can help them, then that is good to be able to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But somehow our giving, it needs to come from our laya consciousness. It needs to come from our insight, our intuition. And if we're caught in sometimes we're caught in the ideas about giving, then it doesn't have the same kind of effect as if we allow our intuition to give. We can give in a more spontaneous way. To give without the idea that there is a giver and there is someone who is given to, the idea that there is a gift, a giver, and someone who is given to, but the one who gives and the one who is given to are not two separate realities, and the gift is not separate either. So that practice of those three things not being separate realities can also help the giving in that way, without dwelling, without being caught in the form. When they talk about signs in the Vajrayetika Sutra, they're talking about those 5 signs: self, human, and so on and so on. So not being caught in those 5 signs mean I'm not caught in the idea of myself and the other person. I'm the one who gives, they're the one who receives. So it can be a practice we can deepen. But the way you do now is fine. Thank you, sister.